Good morning, guys. It is Tuesday, October 29th, 2024. This Bathrobe business. I'm Georgi Oganov. I got the coffee and I got the news. So let's jump into it. There's actually a lot of positivity in the market overall. I'm going to get to that in just a second. I do have some negativity to report before we jump into the good stories, but I think they're crucial. So, first story I want to share is my favorite subject, gold. So gold is up again. Gold is a break every day. It seems to break a new record. So it set a new record last week of 2750. It is now at 2761. It's continuing its rise. This is where it was just about a year ago. Where are we? October of last year. It was at about 1841. So you're seeing an increase of about $1,000 by percentage. I think that might be more than Bitcoin. However, speaking of Bitcoin, Bitcoin is through the roof as well. It's at 71,000, and some people are saying it's going to hit 80,000 before the end of the year. And of course, everybody, myself included, is saying that gold's going to hit 3,000. Now, as I always state, I believe that these are real inflation numbers, along with other stuff that I share with you guys on this channel. This is really where inflation happens. It's not CPI. It's not, I don't know what they call PCE. It's not all of those manufactured pieces of data that come out. It's real numbers like this, because this is the cost of an asset. Inflation is about more than the cost of eggs. Obviously, that's an important factor, right? Nobody is discounting that. And I myself have talked about the increase in food prices in the most recent CPI data. Everybody said it was all sweet and rosy, but when you actually dive into the data, cost of eggs, meat, milk, I think milk was actually the only thing that was down, but meat, eggs, and a lot of core consumer staples were actually up very high. It's just a lot of the other products that were down that kind of balanced out the numbers. But these are real inflation numbers because these are the increase in cost of assets. And remember, homes are also an increase in the cost of assets. We're seeing continued cost in home ownership. There's no decrease despite the fact that they've cut rates by 0.5%. Mortgage rates are actually up above where they were pre-cut, and mortgage prices are still continuing to rise. In fact, I was going to wait to share this story until later in the my stream here, but Salt Lake's home sales hold steady despite nationwide decline. So here in Salt Lake City, our home prices are both increasing and home sales remain high. Last year, this time there was about 1,300 pending sales, and right now there's about that was in August. I'm sorry. This year, there were about 1,300 pending sales, whereas last year was around 1,200. So we're seeing an increase in that. So across the board, we're seeing increases in the costs of real goods and tangible assets. So that's why I call these real inflation numbers. So take that as you will. However, let's jump into the good stories. So actually, let's jump into a funny story first. I think this one's funny just because I think Boeing is just, I don't know, a shit show. Boeing launches offering to raise roughly $19 billion to shore up finance. So essentially, we all know where Boeing is. They still have not settled their strike with the machinists. And on Monday, they launched a stock offering that could raise around $19 billion in order to bolster their finances because they're in a tight spot. Obviously, this is going to devalue the stock because they're going to be selling tons of shares. However, this is really their only way of maintaining any operating expenses. I wouldn't be surprised if part of this money goes into negotiating a new contract for the union, but just think that's kind of really funny that Boeing is just on its last breath and nobody seems to be able to turn this company around. We'll see what happens with that. Okay, now towards the good stories. So one of the stories I really want to share is McDonald's, of all stories. So McDonald's beat on profit and revenue, reverses U.S. same-store sales decline. So McDonald's had a fantastic quarter. They had earnings of $3.32 a share versus the $3.20 a share that was expected. Revenue of $6.87 billion versus $6.82 billion expected. So all well and good. However, here is the interesting part. We saw this reflected a couple weeks ago, last week in my video about GM and why I said this is a sign of U.S. strength in the economy. The global sales of McDonald's fell. However, U.S. sales rose more drastically. So U.S. same-store sales increased by 0.3%, while global same-store sales fell by 1.5%. What's interesting about that is we saw the same thing in GM. where their global sales were down, and they signaled the fact that overall global buying is down, that the global economy is in bad shape. However, U.S. economy sales were up there. Now, I made the argument that new car sales are a luxury purchase because I don't know how you could take it any other way. You don't need a new car. You can repair the one you have. You can buy used. New car sales are closer to being a luxury than a necessity. And the fact that their earnings were so strong, it signaled strength in the economy, especially when you consider it was focused all entirely on U.S. sales, not global sales. Their global sales were down. And now we see the same thing reflected here in this story as well. A couple other stories that echo the same thing. I guess one other story that really echoes the same thing is Royal Caribbean. So obviously vacations are a luxury. There's no question about that. But Royal Caribbean lifts its annual profit forecast on strong cruise demand. Now, they are expecting a bad next quarter because of the hurricanes. However, their actual bookings are up. And this is despite the fact that they've actually hiked prices. Their ticket prices have gone up, but their sales are actually up and bookings are up. So again, a luxury product that is doing very well. This is a sign of the economy being very strong. Despite the inflation, I think the U.S. economy is actually doing very, very well. Now, one more story I want to share that I think I'm going to share with you guys two stories on investing. And I don't share too much on investing, mainly because I don't invest too often. So I did share with you guys trades I made on Microsoft and Nvidia this year, but that's honestly all I've done with trading. I used to be a little bit more active in the market years ago when I wasn't as busy, when I was much younger. I had some good returns. I'm pretty proud of it. I averaged 30% one year, so I'm proud of that. But I haven't really done it much. And so that's why I don't share it much with you. But because I try to have this channel be an echo of what I do in my personal life, I am going to share a couple investment ideas with you guys. The first thing is going to be with, let's see, did I close that article? I may have closed that article. No, I did not. Here it is right here. So Corning's forecasts upbeat quarterly results on robust demand for fiber optic. So I would recommend looking into Corning's simply because I haven't done this myself. And again, I'm more of a trader than an investor. I always have been. I just have no patience for it. But why this is an interesting story. So Corning's, obviously everybody knows, are in so many different things. The iPhone sales are going to be probably through the roof this next coming quarter because Apple Intel is coming. And apparently Apple has shipped $6 billion from India in new phones. They're probably going to be looking at a very strong quarter. And obviously Corning's makes most of the glass for most Apple products. However, that's not the reason I would say it's a good investment. I would say this is a long investment. And the reason I would say that is because this article highlights the fact that a lot of this growth has to do with fiber optic products. So why that is strictly because of AI. Now, we've seen a lot of this in the AI market. A lot of it seems to be really focused on hardware more so than software because people haven't really figured out how to monetize the software yet. Obviously, there's tons of free products, but all those free products obviously not only do not generate revenue for the companies, but they also end up costing it. This is an old stat, but I think every single, I don't know if you'd call it a search or a query or a question in ChatGPT costs the company about 8 cents a transaction, a post, an answer. And this is old data. I'm sure that number is up as the models have become more sophisticated. And I don't believe that any one AI company is actually turning a true profit yet. Now, granted, most of these are still in startup stages, but still, they don't yet have a pathway to profitability. Right now, they're just kind of growing and investing in the product. However, where we have seen drastic growth is in the hardware. Obviously, the driving one being chips, right? NVIDIA, TSMC, all those companies are seeing massive growth in their hardware. NVIDIA is the highest valued company in the world. I think right now, if not, they may have fallen off slightly, but obviously have been there this year. But here's another company that is getting powerful sales from the AI boom because a lot of these networks require powerful fiber optics in order to run data incredibly quickly. And so shares of the company were up 4.8% in market trading just from the fact of how much they're getting purchases of fiber optic products. So expected fourth quarter revenue of $37.5 billion, which beat estimates of $3.67 billion. So with each passing quarter, investment in AI hardware seems to be increasing. So I would say this is probably not a trade so much as it is a buy for the next 5 years or so, because I think there's going to be some pretty powerful growth in a lot of these networks to support AI and AI processing. especially as companies like ChatGPT move from nonprofit into profit, you're going to see more and more AI investing heavily in hardware. Now, I promised you guys one more investment. So this is one I'm probably actually going to buy today. So this one is one I don't know why I came across this last night, but Bath and Body Works. So I would look into this one. So Bath and Body Works right now is near its 52-week low. It's trading at around $29.45, and I can't understand why it's so low. It's got incredibly strong buy ratings across the board. Its earnings historically have been fantastic. Bath and Body Works has, sorry, and I navigated most of this through my E-Trade account last night, not through the Yahoo, so I don't remember where the earnings are. But their earnings have been on point quarter after quarter after quarter. They've beat expectations every single time. Another reason I think they'll have a strong quarter coming up, they're announcing earnings in November, is simply because retail has been incredibly strong. We saw incredibly strong retail numbers just last month, and overall consumer sentiment spending is up. Uh, Also, what else was it? Oh, it's currently below its both its 50-day moving average and 13-day moving average, and again has incredibly large price targets set by market experts, and has had powerful buy-ins from insiders and from major hedge funds. Now, again, I don't like pitching stocks too much because I feel it's a little bit scammy, but I do try to share with you guys anything that I find that's interesting. So I'll probably be investing as soon as the bell opens on this, and at least looking at it. I wouldn't say investing. I'm going to look at this as a trade. I'm going to purchase now and probably sell it maybe before earnings, seeing how much the stock increases. I see a lot of upside to this, seeing as how inexpensive the stock is right now and where it really should be given a lot of the data that I've looked at. I recommend you check it out. I think it's a good company overall. I buy their products all the time. We have a lot of Bath and Body Works products in the house. I love their candles. So just check it out, see if that works for you guys. That's pretty much it. Those are the stories of the day. I'll see you guys back here hopefully tomorrow. And I hope you guys have a productive Tuesday, and I'll see you on Wednesday.